Welcome to tying Michigan's best trout flies. Today we're going to be tying a North Branch drake. Not as well known as some of the others. It's not a parachute fly either, but it is an Emergere style of fly. It's an all-around imitation of caddis fly and stone fly emergers. It was tied probably first around 1960 by a man named Hank Vesey. He taught fly tying at Mott Community College in Flint, Michigan. Again, this is an all-around emerger for caddis and stone flies. So let's get going on the North Branch drake. So the North Branch drake we're tying here in a size 12, again with a black 6/0 thread. Very simple pattern. Well, let's just attach our thread. This time we're going to take it all the way down the shank, and then we're going to come back to about 2/3 of the way up, like that. Now we're going to attach the body and the tail. It's actually not a tail, it's an imitation of a trailing shuck. We're going to make that all out of one small section of deer hair. This is going to imitate some black flies, so we've got a piece of dark deer hair here. And we're going to cut off just a small section of that. This doesn't have to be stacked. Even if it's uneven at the end, it doesn't matter because we're imitating a trailing shuck along with the body. So just a small section of it like that. And then we want our trailing shuck to look about, to be about the same length as the shank, so there, but then we want the body to end right about here. So I'm going to hold it there and cut it in that body position, just like that. And now we're going to attach it right here. Just trim it just a little bit more. We're going to attach it right here, right there, with a couple of firm wraps. So that's okay. The butt ends are going to stand up, but that's fine. That's what we want to do. So now you've got this. So just hang on to it, smooth it down a little bit with your fingers, and take a few looser wraps toward the bend of the hook. When you get to the bend of the hook, we're going to snug it down just a little bit, not too much. We want it to puff out just a little bit, just like that. And then a couple more wraps to hold that in place. Bring your thread back over the body, through those butts once more to cinch it down. Take your thread in front. Now we're going to put on a partially emerged wing. This is going to be a caddis fly / stone fly imitation of an Emergere style. And so just another little segment of deer here. Here, it doesn't have to be too thick. And we're going to size that out so that this comes about just past the bend, maybe halfway to the length of that trailing shuck that we put on there, just like that. And then cut this at a little bit of an angle, so when you tie it in, you won't have so much to wrap down when you cut that on a slight angle, and right up to those butts that we left. Now that wing should stick up just a little bit, just like that. You can pull down on it just a bit. So now we've got the body, the trailing shuck, and our partially emerged wing in place. All we need now is a hackle to float it. And on the original, like this is the one tied with black thread. It was done simply with grizzly hackle. I've pre-selected one here, but we're going to take off the web. You'll take a look at your hackle and you'll notice there's some darker sections here. That's the web. We get rid of that. We don't want that on our dry flies. We just trim that off and pull a few fibers off so that we got a place to attach it to the shank. Maybe trim it a little bit to length. We can just slide that in right here, and with just a few wraps, attach the hackle, binding it down nicely. So now we've got a place to wrap our hackle, and just a few overhand wraps, just like that. And we're going to have a nice hackled North Branch drake when we're all done. Maybe half a dozen wraps on this fly. This is a size 12. That should be plenty. Tie it off like that. Trim the excess. Whip finish. A few wraps with the whip finisher. North Branch drake is all done. Now just a tip about fishing this, though. I would suggest that you, before you fish it, trim the hackle out here in a V shape so it sits flush on the water. When you fish, it'll look more like your Emergere then. Just another word about this fly. is this is the way the original was tied, with black thread and grizzly hackle. But again, we're going to take this to be a style of fly, not necessarily a specific pattern. If you alter the size of the hook, the shade of the deer hair, the color of the working thread, and the color of the hackle, you'll be able to imitate just about any emerging caddis or stonefly in the country. Variety of sizes, variety of colors, all with one style. You don't have to remember 100 different patterns. So that was the North Branch Drake, a great all-around emerger for both caddisflies and stoneflies. Our next fly is going to be a Hendrickson para-emerger, a fly that I've developed myself. Very effective for the most popular early season emergence that we have here in northern Michigan, the Hendricksons. It really gets the ball rolling for our dry fly fishing. So I hope to see you the next time.